stage of this one. We're actually going to go through a little bit more detail on the virtual systems that we talked about earlier. We went through a lot of the context around virtual system for Microsoft and the virtual system for Superdome 2, HPUX this morning. So I'm not going to repeat a lot of the context. We want to provide additional detail on the product itself and how it's configured and some about how we're going to market and how we work together to get here. Okay? So first, just to very quickly review the new product offering that we announced here was that we were shipping the HP Virtual System for Microsoft. And this is again the result of a long and deep partnership with Microsoft that's really accelerated over the course of the last 18 months as we made this very significant investment in developing solutions that bring together our technologies in a really fundamental way. Again, the idea here with virtual systems is to take the best of breed technologies that we have throughout HP as well as our partners that develop virtualization capabilities and deliver them as close as possible to a turnkey offering as we can. Now, as we discussed in the question and answer session this morning, we're offering customers an awful lot of choice. You can either buy a virtual system for your virtualization requirements if you want to get a highly repeatable, essentially single SKU turnkey offering that's the same every time, or you can choose to break it up and just buy the components that fit your particular requirements. Now, the key that holds this together is really two things. Number one, deep investment in management technology around the software that I'll let Ed describe in more detail as we go through this. But the other thing is reference architectures. So with Microsoft, with HPUX, and frankly with the other virtualization providers that we've built virtual systems with, who I will not name in the present company, we've built entire reference architectures. Now the benefit of that is that if you do decide to break it up and say, I don't want to buy a virtual system today, but I do want to take advantage of a lot of other aspects of the integration that you have. We've done everything we can possibly do to test these and characterize the workloads that we can handle. So for instance, as you'll see, the entry product is the VS1. We know how many VMs in certain circumstances that entire system can support. And by doing that testing, the integration that we've done to get here, we're able to prove that we can get more VMs per virtual system than you could if you did and assemble it yourself kind of approach to the problem. So that's the concept. It's best of breed components. It's integration and management, very close partnership with our virtualization provider partners, but then also a reference architecture, very substantial testing to make sure this is actually going to provide a measurable value. Now, the way we've constructed the product line is that in the case of virtual system for Microsoft, we have two product packages, if you will. The first is called VS1, and the second is called VS2. I know that's really creative marketing, but it's easy to follow and easy to remember. VS1 and VS2. The first one we'll talk about here is VS1. This basically takes advantage of modular technology in the storage layer and in the server layer. So specifically, it's built on ProLiant. It's built on ProLiant class modular rack mount systems. So for the customer that wants to buy and implement their data center that way, modular rack mount technology is very familiar, proven, tested. It's the rest of what they have in their particular data center environment. They go buy a VS1. Now, the construction of this, in terms of the major components, is laid out here. You can see that up on the top right-hand corner, the server technology is standard ProLiant Technologies, DL380s, and the back-end storage is built on HP left-hand technology. Left-hand is a software only, it's built-in software, storage stack that scales out. It runs on modular servers. The way we ship it is basically we call it P4500. It's essentially a ProLiant with our storage controller technology on board and our left-hand software on board. So the server technology is highly consistent with the storage technology, and it's brought together by A-series switching from HP networking. Now, again, the key here is how the software is put together, and that's most of where our investment has been in innovating into companies. And I thought I'd let Ed describe what we've done here.
Yeah, thanks. I think, as we mentioned, when we were building, designing this virtual system, we wanted to make sure that it was more than just the coupling of different hardware and software components, but we wanted to create up through the software stack to the applications. So what we did is take a lot of the great engineering work that HP has done to instrument the hardware so that we can monitor and manage and investigate hardware events from a management perspective and connect that up to the Microsoft management software through System Center. And we did that through the Insight Control integration. So that gave us that tightly coupled management infrastructure that gave you the monitoring and monitoring console that gave you visibility to the state of the operating system, the virtualization environment, all the way down to the hardware layer. And then, of course, what we wanted to do was ensure that we were also able to scale up into the application space as well. And System Center has those strong capabilities, which gives us that single unified view of everything that's happening. Now, the reason that's important is we wanted this to be a simple turnkey solution, meaning that customers could plug it in, do some configuration, and have this virtual system up and running, ready to start hosting these workloads. So the design point was such that we would take care of all of the integration, the configuration, the optimization necessary to make sure that that system was ready to go right out of the box. And our belief is that this is going to significantly ease the speed of deployment for customers that have a need to virtualize their environment and at the same time put in place a foundation that's going to help them move to cloud computing scenarios. And we think, we've been able to build the right components necessary to do that. Now, the one last point that I'll make on this is that Microsoft strongly endorses the stratified approach that HP has taken with VS1 and VS2 and other offerings that may come in the future, so that customers can find the right entry point and size their solution for what makes sense for them today, but also have a platform stack that they can scale into their future needs as well. And we made sure that the software components that Microsoft is providing has those same capabilities. So you'll see on the slide as an example, we included Windows Server Data Center Edition as a core piece of the offering and provided unlimited virtualization capabilities so that there's no license barrier as the system scales up. I think, again, it's an example of the shared vision that both Microsoft and HP have in terms of helping customers virtualize today while establishing a platform that they can use as they expand to the future.
Okay, thank you. So along those lines, a key dimension to doing what I described is the ability to deliver scale out. And so this is a place that we've made significant investments in HP storage over the last couple of years to enable that. You couldn't have done this kind of scale-out capability with more traditional storage technologies. I'll give you an example of why. You can see on the bottom left-hand part of this chart where we talk about the B4500 left-hand SAN. You can see the capacity variables there. We go from about 14 terabytes of storage to about 57 terabytes of storage within this virtual system. What's really happening there is that when you deploy that left-hand SAN in the base virtual system, you start with 2 nodes. It's essentially a 2-node cluster. If you want to grow, you want to go beyond the base virtual system initially or later, essentially what you're doing is adding additional nodes to the pool. And you go up to a total of 8 nodes in the VS1. When you add those additional nodes to the pool, it reconfigures the pool as a single entity, not as multiple different arrays behind virtual servers, but as a single pool of storage. It self-configures, load balances, optimizes, etc. So those are capabilities in the infrastructure, in the converged infrastructure that we've built over the last few years to be able to scale out on industry standard client class technology. And now we're able to put that underneath this very nicely integrated management technology, and Microsoft can take advantage of those capabilities and we can take advantage of theirs. Now, if you go to the next level, which is the VS2, this is for the other kind of customer that rather than choosing a rack mount approach, is going to choose blade approach. And this does get to additional scalability. It's built on C7000 blade system on the front end for the server component, and then the same left-hand scale-out storage technology on the back end, this time running on blade system. What we call that is a P4800 stand, blade system running left-hand. You can scale up very significantly here. You can get up to 84 terabytes, so it really takes on where the VS1 leaves off, and adding additional blades, adding additional left-hand storage nodes essentially allows you to kind of grow that pool to very significant levels. You can ultimately go beyond that if you want it. You can configure something unique that's not a virtual system, but goes well beyond these capabilities. But this is going to service the needs of that larger customer that's really trying to employ virtualization as a utility on their way to building their private cloud. Now, we also were able to bring in some additional components here. We're taking advantage of our Virtual Connect Flex 10 technologies. We've got A-series switching. We've also got a Virtual Connect module on here. And that gives you a tremendous amount of capability and flexibility about how you configure your network and how you expose ports from the virtual system. So really, it's another class of virtualization technology around the network that allows you to actually reduce operational costs very, very significantly. You've got some metrics there in terms of how that happens. You're basically able to reduce the cost of managing that network very significantly, and also reduce the cost of the actual infrastructure itself. So, any additional comments, perhaps, on the Insight Control integration that we've done?
Yeah,
this classic customer.
The other point that I think is important to come out here is that there's a lot of technology components in here, right? There's all the right computing assets and storage and the networking assets that are all critical to set up that environment. But I think it's important to reiterate that we built this to host the key critical workloads that customers care about. And I would say even from the design point, we started with the application and worked our way down into what is the right infrastructure to have in place that can scale these applications up to really support that virtualized enterprise environment. So again, I think from a design point, Tom mentioned the reference architectures. We've been pretty liberal in terms of publishing those reference architectures, so our customers will have a chance to go out and review the specifications that we built to and the factors that we considered as we established this architecture for the solution. And it's all done with a mind toward being able to host and support those applications in a highly scalable and high-performing manner. And I'll preview you that in the next month or so, we're going to be publishing some performance specifications of running Exchange and SharePoint. And I think we're doing SQL as well, but don't hold me to that one. But at least SharePoint Exchange will be publishing the performance data around that so that you'll be able to see how the system actually performs. The other last point that I'll make is that we also wanted to ensure that our customers had a means to acquire the technology in a very flexible way, and Tom referred to that as well, that there are some very rigid configurations that you'll see in the industry of companies that come out and say, this is the way to do virtualization. We didn't want to take that approach. We wanted to be considerate of the environment that our customers have. They may have a storage strategy already, or they may have a hypervisor strategy already. So we built this with a mind that it can easily come in and fit within an existing customer's environment, take into account the investments they've already made, but then help them establish a platform that will help them move forward in the future.
Good. Okay, so the last couple of comments I'd like to make to wrap up the VS2 are, if you look at the competitive environment, what else is out there? Our primary competition, to be quite candid, is going to be VCE, with a combination of EMC, Cisco, and VMware. Now, we think that rather than showing up with three companies, three different support models, we're able to show up as essentially one company with a tremendous amount of integration in providing a seamless customer experience. We expect that that's going to be extraordinarily well received. So when you're looking at it from a component level, looking at best-in-class technology on every part of that chart, we'll put Blade System up against Cisco's UCS technology every day of the week. Very comfortable with with that matchup. Very comfortable with our storage technology, running on Blade system, matching up for this set of applications extraordinarily well. And I think that there's the relationship that we have with our vendors, and frankly, $250 million in many, many years of investment with Microsoft, we think it's going to set us far ahead of any competition that's out there. So again, I'd like to thank you for making the trip, and not just the flight, but the trip over the last couple of years with us to get to the point where we have this offering. Okay, so would you make a few words on the overall customer environment, the kinds of customers that you see with this solution?
Yeah, I think there's a representative sample of some of the customers we're dealing with. We wanted to spend just a minute talking a little bit about the scenarios we're seeing, and again, thinking about the design point that was important to our customers. And we are seeing, as you would expect, a broad range of customer needs from customers who have made significant investments in virtualization today and may have standardized on virtualization technology, such as VMware. And we certainly wanted to have an offering that would come in and work in a cross-platform, heterogeneous way to enable them to bring in these more advanced virtualization technologies. And the virtual systems are built with that capability. They have a cross-platform capability built into them, so customers can manage that multiple hypervisor environment and have the benefits of that full integrated virtualization experience. Now, we're also seeing customers that are experimenting with virtualization maybe outside of their corporate headquarters, outside of their enterprise data centers, sometimes in their branch offices or distributed offices. Virtual system is an ideal solution for those environments because it brings almost an appliance-type experience, a very turnkey experience for those customers that want to get virtualization in, establish that framework, and then immediately start to consolidate the workloads that are currently running in those environments. So that's another great customer scenario as well. And then, of course, there are customers, sometimes on the smaller end, that just need to start. There are a lot of these, but certainly there are customers that need an entry point. And virtualization can be a complex and difficult technology to consume. And we believe that the virtual system is going to, again, give that very easy entry point for customers that want to adopt virtualization and have a very easy to consume technology to start with. We're seeing customers, frankly, in all areas of the world. Certainly, it's been very well received in this part of the world. And our belief is that this is going to be an offer that really helps both companies take that virtualization and cloud computing message to the world at large. Is there anything you would add?
That's good. I think the only other kind of dimension that I would add to that is that you look at the VS1 and the VS2 and what you just described in terms of the VS1 approach being a highly repeatable, to send the same solution out to all my branches. We would expect that is going to be dominantly a channel solution over the next couple of years. And that's another area of partnership where we have a significant opportunity to target both of our channels with this and deliver solutions fairly broadly to the market. The VS2 is also available to the channel, and in the early going, we're getting a lot of positive experience from the channel, but it's also the kind of solution where we'll tend to engage on a direct basis and help customers with those larger solutions where there might be some more customization opportunity. And then we can bring to bear the consulting offerings around virtual system from Microsoft that we talked about earlier. So, again, there's different kinds of customers in the world, different choice points that they have, and also different routes to market. And so one of the reasons you see different offerings here, rack mount as well as blade-based systems, there's different ways customers want to consume these things, and we have a very broad channel that uses different routes to actually helping them do that. Okay, so I'm going to transition now and talk about the HP virtual system for Superdome 2 HP UX. We covered this very briefly this morning. The technology that we're building around here from a virtualization standpoint is fairly unique. HP UX, if you're not aware of it, has its own virtualization technology on board, very well established. and a couple of different classes of virtualization technology. This is not strictly speaking a hypervisor, but it gives a lot of the capabilities that customers would expect from a hypervisor, but with guaranteed levels of resources and service levels for the applications and services. So some of the technologies you might have heard of in this case are things like NPARs, Integrity VM, containers, technologies that have different ways of providing a service level for customers. So NPARs, for instance, would give you the ability to isolate for an application the resources from a hardware level that are required to support it. Dedicated support from those resources, guaranteed service level. Integrity VM gives you the ability to do things like migration. And those are two of the most critical requirements that customers have in this space is the ability to get the benefit of mobility and flexibility from virtualization without giving up guaranteed hardware support and isolation of the resources for a given application. So it is a unique market, and these are unique technologies, and we've got a long history in developing them for HPUS. Now, so in this particular case, if you look at the components that have been brought to bear here, these are our most mission-critical servers. The Integrity line gives you always-on resiliency, keeping those applications running 100% of the time. What we've built in from a storage standpoint into the standard virtual system for Superdome 2 HPUX is our 3-PAR F-Series system. Again, we have a complete reference architecture for this. If a customer wants a different class of 3-PAR, we have the T class, we have the V class that we saw this morning. This is not for everyone. These are for your larger requirements. It's a solution that starts at over $2 million. So it's for that top of the pyramid. What we're finding is many of these customers say they want to go higher than that. They want to go to the full V class. If you want to do that, we have a tremendous amount of capability to customize these for the customers that we're serving here. We're also building in 24/7 critical care, mission-critical class support, full 3 years baked in, as well as factory integration, and full benefits of a turnkey-like solution with also the full benefits of mission-critical support. So, what I would expect that we would see here is a lot of engagements looking at this solution, and then customers saying, look, for the investment that I'm making, my particular requirements, how can I take advantage of your consulting expertise, take advantage of the testing and reference architecture we built to tie together the server technology with the storage technology, and then talk about how do we build the right offering for their particular requirements. So it's a great way to kind of engage initially and then determine, look, is it a turnkey approach? What do I need? I need customization around my individual needs, and we've created that level of flexibility in the offering to do that. So as we talked about briefly this morning, when you're talking about Microsoft, when you're talking about HPUX, or you're talking about other offerings we have in the virtualization area, we can't just bring products to market anymore. It really is critical for us to build solutions and services and consulting in order to help customers make the right set of decisions and get them where they want to go. Over the last year, as we've done things like bringing out our P4800 blade system, SAN, as we've brought out 3-PAR, we've really made a completely new kind of investment in storage consulting. We didn't have storage consulting the way you think about it prior to this investment over the course of the last year. So really for the first time, we're able to engage with customers and helping them map those decisions and go in the right direction. As I mentioned briefly this morning, we've got quick start services that help customers get going rapidly, deploy, and get up and running very quickly. Our expectations, for the most part, the customer that buys a VS1 is going to take full advantage of those things. As you move up to VS2 and into Superdome, there's more leverage of the consulting offerings we have, and the options to reconfigure or do something unique are there for that customer. So within the context of everything that we do, we can go from single component, client, or storage, or whatever your particular need is, all the way up to the tightly integrated solutions. And we're providing a lot of capabilities for our channel partners and our customers to configure something unique around their particular needs. And I don't think any other company in the industry has gone as far as we have as far as virtualization related solutions. So I think I've got about 3 seconds left. headed right on it from a calendar and timing standpoint. Do we have time for questions, or do we need to move on? Okay. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.